my name is Jasmine and welcome to Cats Me Wow Designs. Today we are going to talk about the crochet tapestry that I made, that of Zoro from One Piece. I've learned a lot of tips and tricks along the way, and so I hope that I can share my journey with you. So without further ado, let's get started. So when I started this project, I wanted to make something nice for my nephew because he was graduating from high school. I didn't know what to make or what to get for him, but when I found out that he loved One Piece, then I started getting all sorts of ideas, whether I should buy something, but really to me buying things is not as personalized as being able to make them. So I decided to try this. I did put it off for a really long time because I had never undertaken anything like this before, and admittedly it was super scary. But finally, about a month before the party, I decided that I needed to start working on this because if something went wrong, then I needed to have time to be able to fix it. And so that really was kind of the kick in the pants that I needed to actually get started. The pattern for the tapestry called for some very specific colors of yarn. Unfortunately, all of them were the Big Twist brand, which was carried by Joann's and was no longer available, at least not until this coming October when Michaels picks up the Big Twist brand. So that was kind of difficult finding which yarn colors are closest to the originals without actually being able to see the originals. So I kind of split it up a little bit of two different ways to make it a little more budget friendly to make this. So I do have a supply of yarn in various colors that I keep here at the house. So when I could use those colors, then I did. And any colors that I didn't have, then I did go out and buy. So one of the huge benefits is that Hobby Lobby has tiny skeins of yarn. So for some of the colors like the white, the gold, I can't think of any other colors, I think black too, they had the tiny ones that was just enough yardage to get me through the project. And I didn't have a big bulky one that I would never probably use going forward. And Hobby Lobby does have sales regularly on yarn, so that also helped to keep the cost down. I quickly realized within probably the first several rows that I was in way over my head. I had never tried something specifically like this before. I had crocheted a corner to corner or C2C blanket in the past for my husband. That did not turn out as great as I had hoped. It does still look good. He still loves it. But you know, I'm not good at counting. So what I did love about this pattern is it not only had the grid chart, but it also had the colors combined to say you need to make 7 stitches of this color and so on and so forth in like a little graph. So that was actually helpful. I did run into problems with that later though, which I'll tell you about when we get there. So by the time I got to row 30 something, I don't know. Anyways, I was so frustrated because I had, I don't know, 15 to 20 different yarn changes in a single row. And all of my yarn was tangling on itself, and it was so frustrated. But without further ado, let's go ahead and look at that video that I had recorded for that, and we'll see what solution I came up with.
Here I am at row 35. As you can see, I have already developed a problem of all of my yarn deciding that it was going to tangle together. So I created these little fake spools that I hope will keep things a lot more organized and hopefully not become this jumbled mess. So I guess wish me luck trying to get everything untangled, and hopefully I can keep working today. This is how it looks when everything is all wrapped up on them. It still looks messy, but at least it's not tangled. And I feel like this should be able to help me to work faster. But let's check the progress somewhere around when it's halfway done.
So I had seen on Amazon, they have these little plastic pieces that are like bobbins that you could wind yarn on. And so I thought that was a really great idea. I was already super frustrated with the project, however, and I did not want to spend any more money on something that I would not use, since I never plan to do another crochet tapestry ever again. So I ended up taking some poster board that I got at the Dollar Tree. I made my little SVG file and had my Cricut cut out probably 25 or 30 of them. Well, I think I started with 24 because I could get 24 off of a sheet, and wound that around, and that made life so much easier. The yarn in areas still got tangled a little bit, but at least I wasn't dealing with one giant knot that I couldn't work from. Something that I did learn is that it's important to know whether you're working on the right side or the wrong side, because if you're working on the wrong side, you want the yarn to be facing towards you after you're done working with it when you do a color change. If you're working on the correct side or the right side, you need to put it to the back. Otherwise, you're going to have like little lines of the yarn going to the different stitches, which is not really visually appealing. So I did learn that pretty quick because I did mess up a couple times. But it is relatively easy if you make a mistake on that row to take it out and to continue. Something I did wish that I did though is kind of weave in the ends as I went, because when I was finished with the whole project, it was a lot of ends to weave in, and I almost said, you know what, forget it, we're going to put a fabric backing on it, but I did not. I persisted and was able to weave in all of those ends. I was about 50% done with it. So by this point, I was actually feeling pretty good about it because I could actually see a picture. At the 33 row mark, I could not see a picture or anything, and so I was like, I'm putting all of this work and all of this effort in for what? Like, you can't even tell what it's supposed to be. So I was admittedly rather frustrated with it still, but by the 50 row mark, or the 50% done, then I was like, okay, so we actually have a picture, we know what we're doing, like this doesn't look like the train wreck that I had told myself this entire time was. So by the time I was at the 75% mark done, I was kind of at an all-time high. I had achieved more than I ever thought I was going to get done, especially at the beginning when pretty much I was ready to rage quit because it made me so upset and so angry that I was pretty much done with it. But I'm like, I have to make this. I'm dedicated to it now. I've already bought the pattern. Like, I can't change my mind now. So by the 75 point, I was honestly so proud of how it was coming out. And at that point, it made me so excited to be able to finish the last 25%. And really, the last several rows were relatively easy. So I just had, a few rows to do before I was done with Zoro himself and was able to just do the wood grain in the background. So that really helped me to continue. So here is that video for 75% done.
So here is what the tapestry looks like at 75% completion. As you can see, I do have some ends that I need to sew in on the front, and I have not started to sew in any of the pieces on the back. So that's going to be a huge thing, but it's 75% crocheted, which is a huge accomplishment and much more than honestly I ever thought I was going to get done. So I'm just so proud of how it looks.
So now we have officially come to where it was 100% completed, and I could not believe that I actually finished. And it only took me a couple of weeks to work on this massive project. I did have to block it because the edges weren't exactly even, and with acrylic yarn that's a little bit more difficult, but I did use a steamer and I sprayed it down with water with some pins. I don't have a regular blocking board, and so I had a spare set of, you can get them at Harbor Freight. They are the anti-fatigue mats. They come in, I think, 20 inch by 20 inch. It's a 4-pack for like $10. And so I had that, and I put several of them together and was able to pin them just with some quilting pins that I already had here at the house. And so that seemed to work out really well.
We are finally blocking the project, and look how awesome that looks. I'm so excited. And now for the last step, we just have to weave in all of those ends.
The instructions for attaching it to the dowel rod was okay. I did have some problems with it a little bit, and I learned with the next tapestry that I actually made after that, there is an easier way. That instruction wasn't too great, but I did put a dowel rod at the top and at the bottom, just to add a little bit of weight and help to straighten it out the longer it hangs on the wall. If I were to do it again, I would take and do some chains and make little loops so that way the dowel rod can fit over top. And those were, I think, 68 cents or something at Walmart, and I bought 2 of them. And I didn't need the whole dowel rod, so I did cut some of it off, and I actually used that for the other tapestry, the leftovers, so there was no waste. For the part that hangs, I did go to Dollar Tree, and they have that nylon, I'm not really sure what it is, but anyways, it's like a nylon string that can hold up to 200 pounds. My dad helped me shrink wrap around it so that way it would be secure and would look nice and clean. So here is what the tapestry looked like when it was done. And I'm just so excited that I didn't psych myself out and I actually kept working on it. Especially because there was several times that I did almost give up. So my recommendation is, if you're thinking about starting to do a crochet tapestry, go ahead and go for it, and you will learn some things and you're going to make mistakes, but it's going to be worth it in the end. I started out, as I mentioned earlier, using where they had blocked the colors together to tell you how many. There was an error in one of the rows which messed me up. And so I ended up just looking at the grid chart in the end, so that way I could compare what color I am in addition to like where it was in the previous row, so that way the picture would be more accurate as opposed to me getting confused somewhere. Always read the row twice. I had it up on my tablet, and so the row I was working on was at the bottom. So that way, whenever I moved on to the next row, I could scroll up a little bit and then block that other row out. So that was super, super helpful as well. Also, I would recommend totally getting something to wrap the yarn around. Some people do something with their fingers and they wrap it. If that works for you, that is awesome. I could not get that to work for me, which is why I had to cut those spools out with my Cricut, but definitely I would use that. Also, I bought a plastic container because there was probably 12 or 15 different colors of yarn that was being used in this project, so I bought a little clear plastic container to put my project and all of the skeins of yarn in to keep them all together. That way then I knew everything was there. I didn't have to run through the house trying to find it, and it actually had a handle on the top, so it was easy to take with me to different things as well. So that was also super, super helpful. Also, as you know, I have 3 cats, and they like to harass the yarn, so that kept them out of my yarn as well. If you have any questions about this project or any questions about getting started with Crochet Tapestry, then please be sure to let me know down in the comments. You can find some fantastic patterns on Etsy. If you want the one that I just made, which was only this big, I found on Etsy. It took me an evening to crochet. And so, I don't know, now I think I'm kind of obsessed, and I'm glad that I expanded my abilities with crochet because I never thought that I would be able to do this. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time. Bye!